Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm your host, TheDividendAristocrat, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at all my dividend income for the month of November. Now, we did get some hefty dividends this month, and we're getting fairly close to the end of the year, so I'm pretty excited to go over this month's dividend income. Now, if you guys do enjoy this type of content and appreciate the transparency, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me out a ton. As a reminder, this is not financial advice, and I'm just merely sharing my opinions on this channel. With that being said, let's start by taking a look at my portfolio dashboard. So in total, I invested $54,646, and my current portfolio value sits at $77,236. That gives me an unrealized gain of $22,500 or a total return of 41.34%. Now, in terms of dividend earned, I have earned over $2,200 in dividend income, and going forward, I'm expected to earn about $1,100 per year in dividend income. My current portfolio yield is about 1.51% with a 2.14% yield on cost, and I do prefer my dividend yield on the lower end. Right now, I'm focusing on maximizing my total return, and then towards retirement, I could see myself transitioning into higher dividend yielding stocks if everything goes according to plan. Now, my cash position is currently about $6,000 give or take, with my total holdings being around 21 holdings. Now, if we take a look down here real quick, I like to point out this table every single month, and it's because it shows how much I invested and how much I received in dividends each year from 2020 until right now in 2025. So as you can see, we've already surpassed what we made in 2024. We're at $818.16, and comparing that to 2020, we only received $12.45 back then. Now, similarly, we were investing $2,800 a year, $3,000 a year, and then now we're investing almost $20,000 per year. Now, going forward, I don't expect this number to be as high. It was a pretty good year for me, and I had a lot of rollover funds from the past 2 years that I was trying to implement into the portfolio. Now, in 2026, I am expecting about $1,000 per year, so maybe around $12,000 invested into the portfolio. Now, for my yearly dividend history, you can see right here that we've basically surpassed the top of this graph, so I do have to update it to allow it to go even higher. Now, before we take a look at the dividends I received this month, let's quickly take a look at my future value calculator, and this helps simulate how much the portfolio could be valued in the future. So my starting principal is the current amount in my portfolio, and the annual contribution is how much I'm expecting to put in every single year going forward. My annual dividend yield is my current portfolio yield, and the expected dividend increase and price appreciation can be changed as we see fit. In this case, let's assume that we're leaving a dividend increase of 5%, but for price appreciation, maybe we're only expecting 7.5% price appreciation. Now, taking that into account, you can see that in 30 years, the portfolio value would be about $2.1 million with dividend income of $13,600 per year and a total dividend earned of $188,000, which would have been reinvested back into the portfolio. Now, there are different timeframes here. If I want to look at the 10-year timeframe, you can see that's only a $320K portfolio, or if you have 40 years to wait, you can see that becomes a $4.8 million portfolio. Now, if you guys do want to grab a copy to play around with for yourself, check the link that I'll leave in the pinned comment. It's currently free on my Patreon. Now, without further delay, let's take a look at all my dividend income that we received this month. So the first one right here is Lowe's at an amount of $2.51, and I have a very small position in the company, so the dividend is fairly low. Next, we have MasterCard at 77 cents. I only own one share, and their dividend yield is very low, so that makes sense. And following that, we have Texas Instruments at $23.96, which is much more substantial. The company both has a fairly nice dividend yield, and I also own a pretty large position in the stock. Rounding out the month, we have Apple at $2.37. I own a pretty small position, and the dividend yield is one of my lowest in the portfolio, if not the lowest in the portfolio. Now, all these dividends were reinvested back into the companies that paid them out. So to give you an example, Texas Instruments paid $23.96, and I reinvested that to get 0.149 shares at $160.81. Now, the cash position that I showed you guys earlier sits in two different funds, in both my Fidelity investment account and in my Vanguard investment account. And so from that, I actually do get some dividends from the money market fund that it sits in. So this month, I received $13.96 from VMFXX, that's in my Vanguard account, and $13.35 from SPACs, which is in my Fidelity account. Now, I don't add these to my calculations, but I do like to keep track of them in here in case I ever want to reference it. Now, to better visualize the dividends I received this month and how I've been receiving dividends across the entire year, let's hop and take a look into my dividend calendar. Now, this calendar does an excellent job of showing how much I received from each stock across the entire year, as you can see right here in this total section, and how much I received each month in total, as you can see down here. So for the month of November, you can see all 4 stocks that paid out, and we'll use Texas Instruments as our example to look at. So in February, I received $19.74, and then in May, $22.61, in August, $22.78, and in November, $23.96. Now I do believe that somewhere around here I did purchase 2 more shares of Texas Instruments, which did give me a larger dividend in the following quarter, but aside from that, the only reason the dividend has been growing is from dividend increases announced by the company, as well as reinvesting these dividends in order to buy more shares. Over time, this will continue to compound and we'll be keeping track of it on the channel. Now I also have a sheet that gives me a monthly breakdown, and right here you can see how much I've invested in this column and how much dividends I've received each month since I started investing into this portfolio. So the one highlighted in green is currently my record month at 163.62, and I'm pretty sure that in December we're going to be getting both SCHD and VOO paying out, so we'll probably beat that amount set in March. So this month I received $29.61 in dividend income, which isn't too bad at all, though of course not as substantial as October, and I invested $0, but that's actually not accurate. Now the reason it's showing 0 currently is because I haven't had time to go in and add my buys this month, but for the most part I just made my VOO and SCHD buys that I make every single week. Now the only other investment that I can think of is that I'm pretty sure I invested some money into PayPal stock, so I'll be adding that in pretty soon so we can take a look at it in the next video. If you guys do want any more details about that investment, just leave a comment down below asking for some details, and I'll make sure to check my investment account to see how much I invested this month into PayPal. So in this graph right here, you can see that over time, my dividend income has been growing, though fairly sporadic because of my large concentration in ETFs. Now the last thing I want to focus on before we do end the video for today is the different holdings that did pay out a dividend this month. I always like to highlight my actual portfolio so you guys can see how much I hold in each of these stocks and their performance so far. If you guys did make it this far into the video and are enjoying it and appreciate this transparency, consider leaving a like. It will help out the video a lot. So my average price paid can be shown in this column right here, and the current price sits right here, which is how I calculate my total return. So scrolling over to the right, you can see I sorted from the highest gain to the lowest gain. So right now Apple is actually at over a double at 106% total return, followed by MasterCard at 74%. Then at the bottom we have Lowe's at 34.67% and Texas Instruments at 27.46%. Now for the 3 stocks up here, Lowe's, MasterCard, and Apple, I actually haven't had any plans to purchase any more shares of them, at least not for now, but for Texas Instruments, I was actually pretty close to purchasing more shares of it pretty recently. If you guys have been paying attention to that stock price, you would have seen that it was dipping pretty aggressively the past couple of weeks, and it was getting close to my buy range, but it didn't quite hit it. Now since I already have a pretty sizable position, I invested $2,400 and currently have about $3,100 in the company, I decided not to pull the trigger and just be patient for another pullback. Now if that pullback doesn't happen in the future, I'm fine with that, but if it does present another opportunity to buy at a discount, I'll be taking advantage of that. Scrolling all the way to the right, you can see my dividend earned so far in each of these companies, and we can sort that from Z to A as well. So the highest payer is Texas Instruments because I own a large position in it, and it has a very high dividend yield at 3.11%. Now going forward, the annual payout right here can be sorted from Z to A as well to see which one's going to pay me the most each year. So that's Texas Instruments and then Lowe's. Now my yield on cost is nice to look at as well. You can see that because I purchased Texas Instruments at a lower price than it's currently at, and because I haven't done any dividend cuts, my yield on cost is actually substantially higher than the current yield. Now in terms of allocation, 4.0% of my portfolio is allocated to Texas Instruments, with 3.3% being allocated to Apple. Now the funny thing is, when I first started investing into individual stocks, Apple was actually my largest individual stock holding. Now at the time my portfolio was much smaller, so I could not invest as much into an individual company like Apple, and as the price went up, I just didn't average up into the position. Now with Texas Instruments, I bought it much later on, so at that point I was making more substantial investments into individual holdings, like above $2,000 for an individual stock. As you can see right here, for Apple, I actually only invested $1,200, which at the time was a lot for an individual stock for me, and the current value sits at $2,500. As always, that does bring us to the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at my dividend income for the month of November and also checking out which stocks paid them out. If you haven't yet watched last week's video where I talk about Uber stock and why I think it could be a good opportunity to buy it right now, check out this video right here. And if you want to see my dividend income for the month of October, check out this video right here. Remember, the best time to invest was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. I want to thank every single one of you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.